really a privilege to have Tyrone Brooks with us as our good old alumnus, and we've met some other alumni tonight, and so that's even more of a pleasure. I'm Pat Cleveland. I'm the Associate Dean in charge of the undergraduate program here at the Smith School of Business, and we have a number of other staff here to thank at the end. But what I'd like to do is just kick off this wonderful event right now and introduce our Director of Advising, Brian Horrick, who was actually Tyrone's advisor back in the day, and ask Brian if you would please do the honors and introduce all of us to Tyrone.
Great, thank you, Pat. As Pat said, I had the pleasure of advising Tyrone when he was an undergraduate here back in 1996. And Tyrone has been such a great joy for an advisor because he keeps me updated on everything he's been doing over the years. And I've watched him progress from the Atlanta Braves for 11 years to the Cleveland Indians and now the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he's starting this wonderful baseball network. So we're happy to have you all here, and Tyrone, we're thankful that you chose to host it here at University of Maryland. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tyrone.
I want to thank everybody that's here. I feel like this is a great opportunity for many of you who are looking to have careers within sports, but also specifically within baseball. It's a great opportunity. We have a wonderful panel of individuals who are here who are experienced, have been through the wars of this game in regards to opportunities in this game and throughout sports. I feel that you're going to find this panel that we have is going to really help you in regards to getting information to understand about opportunities that are available for you, so you decide to pursue an opportunity within baseball. Myself, this has been very fortunate. This is my 16th year working in baseball. Leaving here, I was just fortunate to have a great opportunity to start out with the Atlanta Braves organization, get started in this game. With all of you, there's definitely opportunities out there throughout baseball in so many different avenues. Partially why I created the Baseball Industry Network was to allow other professionals to continue to network. Like I'm getting a chance to meet some individuals here in our panel for the first time. If it wasn't for that network, I probably would not have had a chance to meet them at this point. So it's opened up doors in that area, but also I've gone about having it include people that are trying to break into this game to get that opportunity to get one step closer to having the opportunity to meet individuals that are in this game and help them hopefully along the way, and possibly develop mentoring relationships that would allow people to continue to grow and advance within the game of baseball. Let me start off by introducing this distinguished panel we have. I'm going to start here closest to me. The first person here, Mr. John Federoff, who is a partner with the law firm of Williams & Connor. Next to him, Mr. Matt Wondolowski, who is an area scout with the Pittsburgh Pirates and covers this Mid-Atlantic area. Next gentleman is Mr. Ben Gessling, who is a reporter and blogger for Masson, which covers the Nationals. Next, we have Mrs. Amy Inlitter Minetti, who is assistant counsel with the Washington Nationals. Next, Mr. Bob Wolf, who is executive vice president for the Washington Nationals. Next, we have Mr. Matt Klintak, who is director of baseball operations for the Baltimore Orioles. Next, we have Catherine Silver, who is executive director of guest services and the ballpark enterprises for the Washington Nationals. Next to her, we have Mrs. Lisa Winston, who is actually a long-time media veteran, long-time reporter and writer. Next is Mr. Trip Norton, who is assistant director of player development for the Baltimore Orioles. Next is Rachel Fink, who is human resources and recruiting manager for Ripken Baseball. And next is Mr. Aaron Moser, who is assistant vice president for Ripken Baseball and is also the GM of the Aberdeen Ironbirds. So the way the format, this is definitely a Q&A situation where we want you to, we'll throw out a few questions, but we also want to have your questions that you might have, and please feel free to throw those out there. These people, everyone here is here to help you and hopefully lead you in the right direction for the path and where you're trying to go. So definitely feel like you can step up and ask any question you have. Everyone here is here to help you. To start out with, I just want to quickly say, in regards to getting into this game, one thing you'll find is people are truly connected in how they go about it from one area to the next in regards to the relationships that are being built and connecting people from one place to another. Some of the people on this panel I've had a chance to work closely with through my connection with teams I've been involved with, and it continues to grow. So it's the whole idea of networking is obviously extremely important in how this game operates. To start out with, many of you are probably wondering about people, how they got their opportunity to get started. And I'm going to throw this out to some of the panel members to chime in on how did you get your start within working in this game?
The wheels are turning.
You're going to pick somebody?
Matt, kind of give me a little bit of how you got started.
Absolutely. Well,
You need a mic?
maybe I don't. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right.
You got it.
I played baseball in college. I played for 4 years, and that was, baseball was always a passion of mine. So I knew that entering the professional world, I was hoping to land something in the sport, and specifically within baseball operations, which is what I think a number of us here do. But I found very quickly in the summer of 2002 that was not going to be an easy task. The baseball collective bargaining agreement was up that summer, and the players they had issued a strike date for right around Labor Day weekend, and I basically spent the summer making contacts, calling different people in from different teams and in different cities, just networking, trying to learn as much as I could, with every single one of them telling me that they're worried about their own jobs, and there likely wouldn't be any jobs for somebody like me, which is kind of a blessing in some respects, because it really took the pressure off. It just allowed me to focus on the networking, which is kind of what this whole group is all about. So I spent the summer doing exactly that. Fall rolled around, and I was fortunate to land an internship with the Colorado Rockies. I grew up in New England, but I hit the road. My dad and I drove out there. I didn't know a soul in Denver. Spent a year out in Denver. Had a great experience out there. Ended up, after that, working in the commissioner's office in New York City for 4 years. And then from there, that was where I met Andy McPhail, who's the current GM of the Orioles. And when Andy took over in Baltimore, excuse me, when he took over here, he invited me to come down and join his staff, and I've been here for 3 seasons now. This is my 4th season.
And obviously, you see the situation where internships and those type of opportunities are something that can go a long way in regards to getting you exposed. How many students here are still have more years to come here at the University of Maryland, student-wise? Definitely, there's obviously situations where there's opportunity in regards to teams that are having internships during the course of either during the school year, or in many cases they have a 4-year program a lot of times. I was able to get a start at with the Atlanta Braves, and their program was set up as they have both a year-round and also a summer program. Matt, tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, similarly, I played baseball at George Washington right here in D.C. Got out of there kind of understanding the type of player I was, that my career would be very limited in the future, and decided, all right, rather than spend a couple of years either in the minor leagues or independent ball, let me try and get a jump start on what I'd like to do. And I didn't really have a specific idea, but I knew I wanted to remain involved in baseball. And I reached out to the fellow that had recruited me, who had then moved on actually to the Atlanta Braves, J.J. Piccolo. And I said, J.J., I said, thinking about getting into college coaching, how did you go about that? Do you have any advice? And it was very fortunate timing where he encouraged me to try the scouting route. And I worked for 2 years just as a bird dog associate, virtually unpaid. Actually had Tyrone here, was the lead instructor in scout school in Atlanta, I guess in 2002. I was fortunate enough to go through that development program with the Braves, and then caught on with the Mets in '03 and have been in the scouting portion of baseball ops since then.
How many people here out of the group have had the opportunity to have an internship with, say, a major league or minor league club at this point in your career? Is there anything that kind of stands out from you from that experience that you had that is trying to get you to where you're trying to go now that you want to reflect upon? And maybe some of us can here can even chime in regards to those areas, that opportunity you've had. I think, Dan, I know you had an opportunity this summer.
I mean, it's really, what I found is networking. When you go somewhere, just try to meet as many people as you can. And, you know, one thing leads to another. Sometimes you need to be persistent and you can't be afraid to fail. And somebody's got to get lucky too. I think that's the biggest thing. You set yourself up for as many opportunities as possible. Eventually, the percentage will kick in. And maybe one thing will work out for you.
Any other feedback from that experience coming in as an intern?
I think it's about you know, really getting to be well-rounded, especially in minor league baseball. The teams are, the front offices are a little smaller. You really get an experience to throw yourself into everything. You know, see what your strengths are, see what your weaknesses are, what you can improve on, and you really need to embrace that. You may not always be doing something you thought you'd be doing for the day. You come in a suit and tie and end up cleaning up a stadium, but you know, you embrace it and you learn from it, and it just really helps you to understand every part of the game in the front office.
Rachel and Aaron, in regards to Ripken Baseball and what y'all have been doing with that, can you kind of give us an idea how you guys go through the process? Obviously, there's probably a good amount of staff, interns, you go about hiring, how you go about the whole selection process to bring in staff.
Sure.
Go ahead, you start on
Okay.
the process. You lead the process.
All right. Well, because as sort of the umbrella company, Ripken Baseball, we have 3 minor league teams. What we end up doing is, and I'm sure that our recruiting process is a little bit unique as compared to some of the major league organizations and also a lot of the minor league organizations. We actually hire a training class of account reps, usually 3 or 4 people, and we train them all together in Aberdeen. You know, the interview process starts with a phone interview with me. So, you know, I get all the resumes. I hire for the entire organization, not just our 3 clubs, but the whole thing. So all the resumes filter through me. I do an initial phone screen, and then if that works well, then our training executive, Amy, will talk with them as well over the phone. And as a result of that, we decide whom to bring in for in-person interviews, and that's the final step in the process. From that, as I said, we gain 3 or 4 account representatives, and you know, they go through this, you know, month-long training process with us in Aberdeen. That's sort of our training facility. It's become, and then based on skill set and geographical preference, I guess you could say, we then sort of deploy, so to speak, them to each of our 3 clubs. So ideally, usually one account rep will stay in Aberdeen, one will go down to Augusta, and one will go down to Port Charlotte, Florida. And that's been working very, very well for us. You know, the longevity has been greater, the turnover has been less, and because they all learn together, they always have that bond. So it's really helped our teams kind of stay cohesive, and the training is consistent this way and everything. So again, it's sort of a unique process. As far as any other opportunities with our organization, a lot of times we definitely look to our intern staff to hire internally. So, you know, for those of you who have not had an internship and want to work in baseball, I strongly, strongly recommend that you get on that. Definitely try to have an internship, because your team will notice you if you do a good job.
On the internship side of things, something to kind of add to it, I think within Ripken Baseball, one of the things that we pride ourselves upon is being able to, just as you had mentioned, give you a lot of opportunities to touch different aspects of the business. And one of the things that we also try to do is make sure we give some real life experience opportunities. Rachel and our HR staff does a great job of providing other things that are outside the just actual game responsibility type of stuff. You know, resume building, interview training, you know, going through those skills that you're going to need at the next step as you go out. And internships are invaluable. I use this. And when I ever speak to people, I'm a candidate. I went through the internship process, and I think it's it's twofold. It's not only an opportunity for an employer to see your work ethic and how you're going through it, but quite honestly, understand it's a test drive for you to know if this is an industry you want to be in. You know, because a lot of times people talk about how many hours are involved and what's the responsibility, but until you live and breathe it, sometimes it's not right for everyone. I mean, we see some people drop out that are very talented people, but just don't understand how much time commitment that is involved with. And so it's a test drive that I think for both sides to understand the company, whether those values fit where you want to sit, but also probably more importantly, for you as an individual to know if this is something that you want to do for the rest of your life.
That's a real good point. And if I had one point to make on internships, it really is a two-way street. Make no mistake about it. We're in the internship business, if you will. I don't want to overstate this, but to benefit us. We need workers. We need good workers that want to be in this industry, and we notice the good workers as opposed to those that are coming and just spending time to watch baseball. And on the flip side, it's a tremendous opportunity for any intern to come in to see how our business works. Not only in an area that you might be pigeonholed into in our organization or any other, but to see how the entire operation works. And if I had any advice to any intern, you know, working anywhere, try to spend some time outside of that one area that you're slotted into. Easier to do, I think, in the minor leagues than the major leagues sometimes, but make that effort to do that.
I think the point that you get noticed, you may not, we do hire interns, actually have one here, but when you excel as an intern, you may not be hired by the person that you're working for, but they will try to find you a job because of connectivity in the industry. If we think that you're great and I don't have a spot, I will call another team, and we've got connections, and we've found jobs for a lot of people in other places, even in the minor leagues, and we may recommend that you go to the minor leagues to work your way into the major leagues. But it is an industry that it's tough to get into, but once you're in it, if you're good and you work hard and this is the right fit, we take care of our own, and we'll find positions for people.
I interned in the PR department, but was hired into the finance department because while I was reading the newspaper in the PR department, I got to know somebody in the finance department who had an opening at the right time. So it was very good for me. I wouldn't have lasted in PR.
Let me ask the panel members, what's the biggest factor in regards to really pulling the trigger on somebody as a full-time employee? And they might have had that internship, but what truly is the biggest factors you look at in regards to really bringing somebody forward full-time on your staff to assist you?
Temperament, for me. It's like Rachel said, and you may find out this is not the right career for you, and we've had some interns that burned out really fast. It's not an easy place to work, but if you have a passion for it and you have an even temperament and you don't go like this doesn't work in baseball. It's kind of how baseball goes.
It's all about consistency.
You have to be able, it's just like you talk, it's like a concession worker. You can work in a Hardee's, but if you work in a concession stand and 1 minute you've got nobody there and the next minute you've got 100 people standing in line and they're all screaming because they're going to miss the first pitch, the person that can handle that can handle baseball. And you just have to take it one guest at a time, one day at a time, one game at a time, one homestand at a time, and the people that get too excited are going to fry and burn out and hate this place. They're going to hate the job.
I agree with Catherine. I think that passion is certainly key. You know, we're in an industry that, at least when you're first starting out, it's a lot of hours and not a lot of pay. So if you don't care about it, if you don't love it, and if you think you're going to sit and watch a baseball game every night, you're kind of in for it. I mean, that's not what it's about. You know, it's about entertainment and providing a customer experience that will get them coming back through your gates again and again. So, you know, being able to dispel that passion day after day, season after season, year after year, is what's going to get you to stick in this industry.
I think Bob's point was a good one too. I think adaptability is key. You know, there's plenty of time in all of our careers to, you know, focus, you know, to become pigeonholed into something or specialize in something else. But we've had experiences, Tripp and I had with the Orioles, where you know, we'll hire somebody to work in our video department, and before you know it, he's one of our full-time area scouts. Or we'll hire somebody with the idea of them becoming a scout, and before you know it, they're working in the front office. And it's a matter of need at that point. When a position becomes open for whatever reason, who are we going to trust to take over that position? More often than not, it's somebody that we've worked with closely in the past, in whatever area it had been. We know them, we trust them, we know their temperament, we know what they're, how hard they work, we know what they're like. And if you're adaptable and are willing to make the sacrifice, that in our environment at least has proven to be the case for the last couple of years.
You can't pick your family, but you can pick your baseball family.
I mean, it's a supply and
You spend
demand
more
issue,
time
right?
with them than you do your family.
There's a lot more candidates than there are jobs, so in some respects, yes.
It's true. It's definitely true.
Obviously, a tough aspect, especially within baseball operations, with Matt and Tripp and things there. The toughest part is a lot of these positions are never actually posted, so then it's the case truly from word of mouth, from talking to somebody who knows this person. It's not always the case really who you know, but truly who knows you to make that determination on how you're going to go about the process of who you're going to hire. I mean, I can look at some just examples of things I can remember where a situation where a guy went through the process, we're interviewing for jobs for interns for our department, and we're going through all the resumes, we're going through them, and eventually there's somebody that has some other connection, normally somebody high up and within the department, and before you know it, that person jumps right to the top of the pile, and because of that, there having being some previous relationship, that's going to a lot of times be a deciding factor in how that move is made for who's actually getting hired. And also another aspect in regards to the process of you going through and getting that internship and then going through it. I've had a case even this past year where I had an intern who came in and they had some previous experience with another club, but then they ran into a situation where they, going through it, they realized that maybe this is something that I truly don't want to go through further with, because of, in many cases with the jobs in this game, it can be a 24/7 job in regards to availability and things you need to do, and it's not a 9-to-5 opportunity in many cases. So, and just about every area, everybody's busy with things that are going on. It's tough to break away and to do things. So, something definitely to keep in mind how the industry itself is almost a 24/7 pace with our 7 days a week pace. So, any questions?
Mr. Finkel, you had mentioned that you screen resumes and do phone interviews. How do you screen out or screen in candidates?
Well, it depends on the position. I mean, we're usually looking for more entry-level people. It's rare that we won't promote from within the organization. So typically, if we have a position open, it's at that sort of getting into the business level, if that makes sense. So, obviously, it's great if you've had an internship. That's one of the first things we look at, I'll be honest with you. If it's baseball, all the better, but, as long as you've done something outside of, your school clubs and the, babysitting job you had when you were 16 or working at your community pool, we're good. I also, one of the other things that we look for is, anything that you've done in terms of leadership that would demonstrate, and it's hard in writing to demonstrate this kind of stuff, but that would demonstrate that, you've led a group of people or you've put a lot of time into something on top of your heavy course load. I think that speaks volumes about a person. So, extracurriculars are important, certainly, and so that's just the resume part, and then over the phone interview, usually we're able to establish the passion that I was talking about earlier, the energy that is required in order to do well in this industry, and little things, little nuances like that I can't see on a piece of paper. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Now I've got a question. You mentioned you were a bird dog with the Braves. I'm curious, how do you make ends meet when you're doing that?
Actually, pieced together, we were talking earlier, I slept many a night in the Aberdeen clubhouse doing some of the Ripken camps.
Yeah, you did.
All kinds of odd jobs, landscaping, stuff, just shoot, you get go get on a mower from 5 in the morning to noon, shower up, and make it to a game. So it wasn't real pretty. I'll tell you that. But in the end, you know, you kind of put up. I think anyone puts up with it, and then it makes you appreciate what you have that much more. So, yeah, really just piecing it together.
Let me ask quickly, John and Amy, in regards to obviously people that are coming into your areas with, you know, hopefully with a law background. How difficult is it for you in regards to bringing people in to come and assist you guys within your different departments, different areas from a legal standpoint?
Well, it sort of depends on, you know, what their background is. I'm a partner at a law firm, and we represent players. And so an associate that comes into our law firm, you know, what skills are they going to possess to help out in our practice? So, for example, we have an arbitration case. Well, there's some areas there where that person might be able to help out. The problem is that those cases are so statistically and baseball stat driven. They don't have that background knowledge. They might not be that helpful. So sometimes, but often what people that come to our firm can do is they know how to persuade. They know how, they're going to put together slides for an arbitration presentation. You get someone that can help them with the statistics, they can make the piece of paper kind of read out to you. So what I've tried to do is, you know, I usually have a younger assistant who has a lot of the background information, runs numbers we like. I'll take someone, and there's no demand of people that want to do this, to get involved and help out with those areas of my practice where I think they can help. And try to marry them up, and the two kind of work together.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I have a very different sports law, I guess, career than he does. I mean, I work in a 2-person in-house legal department for a baseball team. I do 100%, well, 95% business side work. So, you know, baseball is a business, just like any other company. My job is very contract heavy, so I draft and negotiate contracts for every single department within our company. That's baseball operations, that's IT, that's HR, facility management, then like sponsorship and marketing and advertising deals, the kind of interesting things that are very tangible that you can kind of just see when you're sitting in the stadium. But for us, we have a couple interns and trainees every year. We go through a process of hiring, we collect resumes. I mean, for us, we really need, we need a lot of help because we're a very small department. So we look for law students typically, not to say that you would have to be a law student to help in a legal department, but, you know, to really contribute a lot, you'd have to be a law student. We also, you know, we need people who, and this is probably true of any department, we in particular, because we're a support department, need people who are going to appreciate and understand the full scope of our business, what we're doing, and how, you know, the particular thing that you're working on fits into that business. And I think that's important of kind of any department, like a finance or, you know, legal IT, you know, especially in an in-house kind of environment. It's important for me to kind of understand the context of what I'm doing, as opposed to just doing something in a silo. So, you know, I'm looking for when we interview for interns, I'm looking for somebody who, you know, is really up on what's going on with the industry, is interested in all aspects of our business, not just the team on the field. Somebody who is going to be able to work hard and work independently. You know, if you work for a large company, especially in the legal field, you go to work for a law firm in the summer when you're in law school and you're working maybe with 10 other people who are in the same position as you. There might be, you know, 20 associates in the law firm who are just a couple years out of school who can help you, you know, who've done projects and assignments that are similar to what you've done before. You have a lot of support. We don't necessarily have that, and that's probably the case with most departments within our company. You know, we really need our interns to contribute, and in order to do that, we need somebody who's independent, who wants to take the bull by the horns, who wants to do just about anything, you know, any type of assignment within the organization. So, you know, we're looking for self-starters, you know, kind of, I guess, legal self-starters, but, you know, I think that a lot of those kind of qualities are probably what, you know, everybody looks for here in their respective fields.
Any other comments, anybody, or questions people have?
Just curious, how attractive is it to a major or minor league team to hire someone who's a graduate with a sports management / marketing degree? And secondly, do you suggest there are some positions that they should go on and get an MBA program and or a law degree for certain positions, you know, in the front office?
For me? Yeah, I get asked that a lot. You know, would a law degree, do you think your law degree would help you do well in business development, or would it help you in baseball operations or whatnot? I think that it definitely can. I mean, I'm a proponent of the legal education. You know, it trains people to have a lot more attention to detail, to be more analytical. You know, just conceptual thinkers. Excuse me. I think all of that's really good. But that aside, I think working, you know, I think sometimes people discount, especially students and people who are looking to get into the industry, think like, oh, legal, like that's boring, or finance, I don't want to do that. I want to like be involved with the game, either marketing or sales or PR or baseball operations. But I think one of the advantages to working in a support department like mine is that I get to be involved with everybody. I kind of know what's going on in the organization all the time because I'm working on deals for every single department. So from that perspective, especially as a younger person who's, you know, starting out in my career, kind of at the mid-level in my career, being in my role has, I think, trained me well to move into, you know, potentially if I wanted to in the future, to move into different types of business roles just because of the perspective that I get from my position. And I think that that's probably true of a lot of different support departments, or the traditional support departments within the company that seem less attractive to people. But as a younger person, I think you can still get a lot of really good business experience that can allow you to be successful in maybe the area that you thought initially you wanted to be in. Is that?
When we hire into a position that's not an entry-level position, I guess I can only speak for myself. I'm looking more for their experience in the workplace than where they might have gone to school or what kind of degree they might have. And those are the people that they have worked for. And it's a big industry, but it's also a small industry. There aren't too many candidates that either I or somebody I know can't call to find out about someone that's been in the workforce. So to your question, I think if you have an MBA or a sports management degree, that matters more in getting your foot in the door, I think, than coming into a business development position. And I'm really looking for somebody with experience and less so for their degree. Catherine, for one, was in business development and to my knowledge, does not have a degree in sports management.
No. Nor sports.
Very well educated, very smart, very capable, all those things. But that was not her college background.
No. I think sometimes it can be a disadvantage if you're young and you're fresh out of school and you want an entry-level job, because you're not going to make a lot of money, and there's the concern that you're going to be very frustrated, and you've got your MBA and your friends are out there and you're just busting it and working 24/7, you're not making any money, and you're just a year or two later, you're like, that's it, I'm done. Yeah. So you're almost better off to get in, if you want to be in baseball, is get in it and kill yourself and make the connections and work and show people what you want, and just like everybody says, find out what it is in the baseball world that gives you that energy and the passion, because you never know what it is that's going to get you excited. It could be, don't always come in and say you want to work in baseball operations. It's a bad thing. Even if you want that, don't say it. Just don't tell people that. Just kind of sideways, because everybody says it. That's what they want to be, and they all say it, and as soon as they say it, you kind of get discounted, and you go, everybody wants to do that. You want to trade players, and but there's so much more about baseball that is thrilling to do, and sometimes it is just that one guest or making people happy or doing a concert or anything in the stadium that can be thrilling to do. And if you find that and you work your way up, I mean, we have people that have worked for us for years that don't have fancy degrees, but they're the best people and the best producers.
There are more qualified candidates out there than you can imagine. I mean, over the course of the last many number of years that I've been doing this, the qualified candidates that want to get into this business have multiplied 100-fold. Because of the degrees that many of you now have, and because of the interest in the industry, because of the growth of the industry. There are a lot of people trying to get in. I'm sure that's not news to any of you. But it's a very competitive workforce.
And also, too, I think you need to look at it from its, we like to tell our minor league players when they're going to a level that they think they should be at a higher level, it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
That's right.
So if baseball operations is what you want to do,
Right.
and you can't get into baseball operations, well, maybe you take that internship in media relations, or maybe you go work in stadium operations, like I said, some of these support departments, because eventually at some point in time, you may have some interaction with an area that you do eventually want to get in, and that's where you can make your impression from the inside.
Yeah, understand that it's going to give you probably an opportunity to continue to advance, but from the point of getting out after your sports management degree, you're going to be competing with those same people that just have the undergrad degree.
Yeah.
And as long as I think it's kind of dovetailing on some other conversations, as long as you have that mindset and you understand that that's where you're going to start from, and competing with people that just finished their undergrad, but you know that you've got an extra, tool in your toolbox per se to eventually help you grow. I think that's as long as you have that mindset, it's worthwhile.
How many people out of this group have like an interest in working truly on like the business side of the game and how things operate, whether sales, marketing, what is like the driving factor for you to want to work in that area, and obviously your experience here if you're at the university in regards to getting to where you're trying to get to? What's the driving force that's going to allow you to get to where you're trying to go? A big part, obviously, you have a case where if you're coming in on the business, and how much, in regards to, let me ask the panel, how much change do you typically have, especially on the business side of things how things are operated within your individual franchises? How much turnover do you normally have in regards to opportunities that become available each year?
Turnover in our team?
Yeah, in regards to especially the business side with sales, marketing, maybe ticket operations.
It's not a lot, I think. Well, for us, we're a young organization, so ours has mostly been growth, which is the good news. Is my department has gone from 3 people to 10 people in a very short period of time, which is really exciting for us. So we've been able to add a position and a position. The more I work, this guy, and need another one and another one.
I had no idea it was 10. It's very discouraging.
No idea. But each person is tied to revenue. So you work that story, and you add people, and you grow the revenue and grow the business, and you find the right person for that slot. So even in our sales side, obviously if they're not successful, they leave. But we've had people go to other clubs, and that happens. And that's part of the nature of this business, as I said before. If you get married and you want to move, or you want to go back home, you can find a job in another club, because once you're inside, then we would much rather hire someone that is vouched for from another team that comes into another team. And the minor leagues is very much that way.
Oh, yeah.
The churn is in the sales area. That happens to be our biggest group of employees, and it's easier to evaluate them at the end of the season as to how well they've done. It's fairly simple productivity, and a lot of people get into sales thinking they will do anything to get in the business, and find that they really don't like sales. We're not all salespeople, regardless what we're selling. Count me amongst that group. Had I gotten into this business in sales, I probably wouldn't have lasted very long either. But that's where we get most of our turnover.
And a lot of people get noticed as that inside sale. We hire inside sale people that dial for dollars. They're selling tickets on the phone. It's the toughest job, short of the old days of selling classifieds door to door. It's a tough job, and people get noticed on that team for who they are, and for their personality, and for their character, and their work ethic, and you know, these guys are amazing, and they do get hired in other places in the company.
That's absolutely right. And you know, to piggyback off of that, getting a foot in the door in sales is a good thing. I mean, if that's what they're telling you and that kind of stuff, that sometimes is the case. A lot of teams say that is the foot in the door. What I would say is, I mean, it's important no matter where you end up as your foot in the door situation to show that work ethic and, you know, the passion that you'll bring to the table and your ability to take direction and learn and all that kind of stuff. And even if you stink at something like sales, you might find a home somewhere else in that organization because you have worked hard and because people have, you know, noticed you. So.
Change gears just slightly in regards to if any of you at all use like social media devices as part of your whole kind of your application of kind of selling yourself to a potential employer, have any of you used any of those aspects? Can you provide a couple of examples, just curious if you want to share kind of?
I've helped Tyrone on a very, very small basis. Just LinkedIn started. I've been working in social media advising for an agency in Boston. Before I was there, I was laid off from a book publisher, and so what I did is I actually used all the tools available to me to showcase what I was doing on a day-to-day basis, whether it was technology I was learning or just what I was up to, conferences I was going to, people I was meeting, and I was just telling the larger network of people what I was involved in, and then that would always lead to other gigs. It wasn't necessarily baseball or sports, but I think the principle applies. I think that the more you learn, the more you share that you learn, the more people are going to gravitate to that, ask you questions, and then it kind of builds on itself. So I'd actually be curious if the panel has sort of seen a change in how you have to connect with the audience or, you know, ticket holders and that kind of thing over the past few years, and if there's skills that this group would benefit from knowing or bringing to the table that maybe 5 years ago weren't doing.
Absolutely. We just hired some members of our team that are very social network conscious that are going to help us sell on our side, on the non-game day side too, to bring in events and business that really get it, that understand how it works, that want to build our website and build our online presence and find ways without using a lot of money, which we don't have a lot of marketing dollars for that, but to find another way to get to the customer. So it's a huge asset for us on both sides of the business, on the ticket sales side and also on the business side. And on the recruiting side, I've actually seen people that buy ads on my LinkedIn page or a person's LinkedIn page or on their Google page for themselves when they're trying to get hired. So I've heard that. It's really kind of creepy. Don't do it. But it's sort of like stalking or something. But I've heard it is like stalking.
Say, have you
it's
hired
like,
someone who's
no,
done it?
I wouldn't hire someone.
That might
But
scare
I
me.
mean, I've heard people get very creative around that. But definitely LinkedIn. Somebody has sent me messages on LinkedIn that's connected to somebody else that says this person is interviewing. I know who they are, and they make the connection. And you know, so yeah, I think just to get that interview with Rachel on the telephone, there'll be people going after her probably on her. Do they come on your Facebook page or?
No, I haven't had anybody stalk me on Facebook yet. But LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn for everything, and you know, people reach me there, and it's a good thing. I mean, is everybody on LinkedIn? If you're not, you have to be, please.
We did a little poll. How many people have a LinkedIn account?
Oh, that's so awesome.
And for how many is it because of Tyrone?
Good call.
Do you get like 50 cents a person or something? Is there some do you have some deal with LinkedIn?
No, they haven't started kicking any money my way yet, so we'll have to figure something out. But, definitely it's a great resource in regards to getting yourself that much closer to connecting with people that are involved in our game. And when I first started the actual group, I mean, it was a case where my buddy Chad actually was the first one who actually sent me something for LinkedIn, and I looked at it, and I just kind of, I joined, and I kind of just pushed it aside for probably a good 6 months, and then from that, finally, I actually got on there and started going, realizing what other people I knew that were on there, and bringing people together, connecting with them, and then the idea of the Baseball Industry Network was really just the idea of bringing people together that were involved in our game. If we could start building those relationships and just the connectivity of people from one place to another, and just show you how truly small the game really is, despite the different areas that are out there and available.
I will say this, kind of related to this topic. I'm looking at the HR person down here. Be cognizant of what's out there. Over the last year or two, as we're hiring people, believe me, we look up Facebook pages. I don't do a lot of research per se, but the stuff that easily pops up can haunt you. If you have the wrong thing on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
I don't know
My
if you
advice
do
would
that.
be when you get home, Google yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if that makes sense, and if you see kind of some negative stuff pop up, work on that.
Yeah.
I personally don't do that, but there are certainly companies out there that do.
Is
that
that
will
unethical?
pull up your Facebook.
Is that unethical?
It's not yet. There's no law against it yet.
Only on the edge.
You know, so yeah, you're living on the edge. It's all, but you know, you don't want your first impression from a company to be you, like, you know, funneling a beer at a fraternity party. So take those pictures off your Facebook.
It's those tags.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
may not even help. They will last once they're there. They're cash.
Sometimes.
And they will last
So
forever.
again, be careful. That's something that's important when you're looking for a job. It's a great point.
Luckily, I'm too old to have had those pictures.
Let me ask Lisa, Ben, in regards to using social media for what you each individually do, how has that totally changed in regards to how this industry, in regards to covering sports? At least you've had many years with a lot of newspapers. Things like that. How has this whole impact of social media kind of changed the way things are taking place now?
I think it's changed it completely. I've been covering baseball. This is my 4th year covering baseball, and I think Twitter is the thing for me that has really changed it. That came in, I think, probably my 2nd year on the beat, and I was pretty early on the curve of doing it, and now everybody does it. It is a fundamental part of what I do every day, both in terms of gathering news that's going on in other cities. You can follow games on there from pretty much every city. You can kind of use it as a constant stream of news coming to you. You don't have to go out and find it anymore. You can meet people that you would never meet on Twitter. You can build relationships that way. You can use it to kind of promote your personal brand. It has completely changed it, and like a couple people were saying before, that is something where you can very quickly make a mistake that's going to be out there forever, because Twitter is viral. You tweet something that somebody's interested in, they can retweet it, and then you have no control over it anymore. So you literally can take out your phone right now and ruin your career in 30 seconds if you wanted to. So it's a great resource. It's shrunk the industry a lot. Social networking has shrunk the industry a lot, but there is not much of a filter anymore from what is in your head to what can go out in the world.
Right.
So be careful with that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a great resource.
Don't drink
to use
and
it
tweet.
effectively.
Is that the?
Yeah.
Tyrone, as a member of LinkedIn that has more than 500 connections, did you designate that the public can't get them? Because when you click on your 500, I'm just wondering, is there a connection there? Sometimes I know people that have 1,500 and 60 pages, and you can see everybody. But I know on yours, it's.
Well, I blocked it off so people couldn't, because I feel like I put in a lot of hard work to connect with some of these people, especially the ones that I brought in to the network or things like that. And I just feel like, one, I don't want someone to, get to the point of hopefully of not harassing somebody in some regards. So I don't know. Obviously, you can easily see based upon eventually who I'm connected to in other areas when you do a search and all that. But that one area was just one thing. When I got to a certain point, I was like, I'll just cut it off so nobody can actually.
It's like your personal Rolodex,
Yeah.
It's the good news, bad news kind of thing,
Yeah.
I mean, the toughest part I have sometimes in regards to the use of LinkedIn is the whole aspect of introducing people. When they want you to connect with them and then introduce you to somebody. But in many cases, because I've created this network itself, I don't fully maybe know somebody, so I don't want to push this like I'm really recognizing this person and then pushing them toward them for some opportunity if I don't truly know them. Because obviously it's going to come back on me in regards to that person who's, if I'm recommending somebody, I'm going to look at this person, that there's somebody I truly value and know about them to do that.
In reference to LinkedIn, I own a sports psychology practice in Philadelphia. what I've done within LinkedIn was, not only with my website and YouTube pages, was to ask coaches, like, what's one tip for batting? Since I'm not the fundamental batting instructor, however, I understand what goes on in people's heads when they're in that batter's box, whether they're going to believe they're going to hit or they're going to strike out. And it's made a lot of connections for me between some of these other experts that I can bring back into my practice and work with the players that I'm working with from there. So it's been a great networking tool, not only through that, and then the other tools that are on the web with your fan page.
And I mean, it's amazing that you can, whatever area, whatever you're looking for, you can find somebody that fits what criteria you're looking for somebody on that site, because of being so many people, just the amount of people that are involved in it, just the connectivity from one person to the next. Lisa, I can tell you wanted to say something. We're back on the topic in regards to social media and journalism.
I have to be careful how I put this. Ben's been doing this for 4 years, and so I think the Twitter era is a lot more vital for you as a beat writer. You need to get the information out there. I was a reporter for 25 years, and when I started being a full-time baseball writer, I was covering a minor league Class A team in Virginia, and you didn't have the kind of access to the information that fans have now. So I see both the positives, and I hate to say from a journalistic standpoint, there have been some negatives, and I'm not going to say Twitter, Facebook, just the internet in general. It's great for fans. You have an immediacy, ability to get information and statistics and box scores the minute they happen, sometimes before they happen. If Joe in section 317 is tweeting it just happened in a game. I worked at Baseball Weekly, and I'll still call it Baseball Weekly, I don't care, for 14 years, and for 11 of those years I single-handedly was the minor league department. And at that point, there was me and the guys at Baseball America that were full-time, and we were the only people, I really believe, in the country that covered the minors single-handedly or group-handedly on a national basis.
That's why we had a business.
And so, exactly. But I mean,
there was nobody else doing it.
There was nobody else doing it. And we came out weekly, and you came out bi-weekly, is that
bi-weekly?
Yeah. And yet people were happy to wait for it because it was the only place you could get that information. We ran Major League box scores. Every commissioner, fantasy league commissioner, for probably 10 years, would run to their mailboxes on Wednesday because that was where they could update their stats. As the advent of the internet and availability online grew, it reduced to a large extent, I believe, the viability of some print media, because it was no longer enough to really do your homework and know your stuff and bring people stories they hadn't read before. You just had to be first. And sometimes being right wasn't even important, as long as you were first. And covering the minor leagues was my niche. It was what I did. So there wasn't quite as much competition at the beginning because there still weren't that many people that did it. But I think that there's some issues of credibility. If people can create a wonderful looking website and make it sound good, they may never have seen these players they're writing about. They may be taking the information and extrapolating it from box scores and stats and sounding like they're a scout. And believe me, I went to scout school twice, so I know just how very, very hard and grueling and amazing these scouts are. And believe me, you can't extrapolate everything from box scores. And I know I'm rambling on, but I'm saying is that a lot of the advent of the internet is great, but I think it has hurt journalism in some ways as much as it's helped it. And it's certainly, if you are, I don't know if there are people here that want to be sports writers or baseball writers, but I can tell you my advice would be learn computer graphics, statistical analysis, and Spanish before you study journalism. I think those are really 3 very, very key needs. If you know baseball and like baseball and you can write a sentence, That's great, but I wish God, if I could find a time machine and change it to one day, it would be the day that I chose to take social studies instead of Spanish in 9th grade. My biggest regret. So,
I think
not sure if that answers.
I think in some ways, I mean, your point is a good one. It's there's huge power. Everyone has become a journalist in a way, and one tweet or a blog becomes very credible often when it's not. And the power, I mean, even on the customer service side, or you get people that talk about an experience in a ballpark, and maybe one person, and it has the power as if it happened to thousands of people. And it can change perception on how people view an experience in a stadium. It can change how they feel about a team. And you believe, well, everybody thinks that. Well, it was a very powerful blogger or someone with a really bad chip on their shoulder that wanted to take you down, and they can do it. They can absolutely do it with a blog, and a bad attitude can do some real damage to a major league team or a minor league team or anybody in sports. And they have huge credibility sometimes. And some of them should, and they're very good writers out there, but some of the bloggers just want to take you apart, and they will. So we're fighting that as much as we're fighting the real journalists.
To that point, I think, I mean, like you say, everybody can be a journalist now. It doesn't cost anything. You can get a blog or a Twitter account in seconds, and it costs nothing. And there's a lot more of an onus now on readers and fans to take all this information that's there and say, what is credible, what is true, and what is worth my time. And you'll get fans. I think sabermetrics has gone hand in hand with a lot of this stuff. I'll have arguments with fans on Twitter saying somebody's UZR is this, he's not a good fielder, and it's like I don't have time to get into it with you that UZR doesn't work in the first 2 weeks of the season, but because they have these stats and they're not there every day and they have a blog, they can try to argue as authoritatively as somebody who's a scout or who's a reporter, somebody who's there every day seeing all this stuff. So there's a lot more information. It's a lot more, like I said, an onus on fans and readers to slice it and dice it and say what's worth my time. So, I mean, all this stuff can have a lot of usability, can have a lot of advantages, but you have to be very careful with it.
We got any future sabermetricians here at all within this group? Let me ask some of the panel just in regards to what are some of the most enjoyable aspects, and you can just chime in, most enjoyable aspects of what you've been doing in your career, what's your current position, just what you feel about that.
Well, actually, I just had probably I have an amazing team, and I like that very much, the people that I work with, because you do spend a lot of time together. But we're starting some things with customer service, and we're trying to do a real one-on-one service, because it is a one-on-one relationship, and you can't look at 25,000 people. We're trying to look at one person at a time. And I got an email during a game from a season ticket holder up in the gallery who had a complaint, who had a high executive's email, and he sent it to him, and he sent it to me in the middle of the game. And I walked up to the guy's seat, and I sat down next to him and introduced myself, and he was taken aback, and I said, I understand you had a problem, and something happened at the concession stand, and he was like, oh my God, how did that happen? And he was blown away by it. It was really cool. It was really fun to say, he's like, wow, you guys take this seriously. It's like, no, I do. I take it very seriously, and I want to make sure that we fix it. I want to listen to your problem. And the whole section got engaged in this conversation. They were like, who was that? And what was she doing up here? Because I had a walkie-talkie, and you look him. But, with this guy, he said, I've always wanted you to get involved in customer service, and he's pushed the club to do some things, and he said, now I believe that you've really done it. And to me, that was so much fun. I just loved it. So we're trying to replicate that to 100 people or 200 people a game by doing an email, and so that people can call us and email us during the game and say, I've had a bad experience, and we're going to show up in their seat and fix it right when they're there. But that was cool. It was really fun. So I like that.
To me, Ty, it's this way now, and it always has been, is the enjoyment, and I don't say this tritely, the enjoyment of the people I work with, or the enjoyment of the people that are attracted to this industry and stay in it. I don't think I would say the same thing if I worked on Wall Street. It just factually wouldn't be true. But and some of them are good employees, some of them are bad employees, but a lot of them are just characters that you remember your entire life, and people that you might not see for 10 or 15 years, but when you see them again, it's as if you saw them yesterday. And I think the people that are drawn into this industry are very, by and large, very good people and people I enjoy working with.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely been covering players, getting to know them, doing features on guys, not necessarily the first, in fact, with no knock on the first rounders, but the low round picks, the non-drafted free agents, the guys that nobody, you know, necessarily thought would make it to the majors, and following them and seeing them make it to the big leagues and have good careers. And it's really gratifying to me how many of them will actually, I've had guys call me the day they've gotten called up. I mean, actually get in touch with me and say, to give me the news, they've gotten called up, or my mom still has the story you wrote about me framed and hanging on the wall. And over all these years, there's a lot of guys I get to watch and say, oh yeah, you know, and that's really fun. I do a happy dance a lot when guys get called up.
Yeah, same for me. Being in the player development side, obviously your greatest joy is seeing a 17-year-old kid 5 years later, 4 years later, you know, playing in the big league level, or even, you know, for me getting a chance with our system to literally watch them grow up, both as a baseball player and as a person. Even guys that don't make it to the big leagues, you still keep in touch with them. You know, you get Christmas cards. You know, when they have a baby, they send you, you know, a picture or something. So really, it's just, you know, the connections and the people that you work with. You know, you spend more time with your baseball family than you do with your real family. So you better like them because you spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think, you know, from my perspective as being the person that sort of is the front line of getting people into the organization, I don't know, it's like whenever something cool happens in the company, like the Ironbirds sell out, or we get like a big sponsorship deal or something like that. I mean, obviously I had nothing to do with that, okay? But I probably brought in the person that did, which is really cool. That's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I think since we're just continuing down the line, I guess,
that's kind of what I felt like they're doing.
Yeah, so I'll just continue. I mean, it is, and I'm just going to echo. It's the family, it's the relationships that you have internally. I mean, you can't articulate it well enough when, especially at the minor league level, when we're showing up at 6:45 to pull the tarp off the field, and you're there in sopping wet shoes all afternoon long because you're pulling the tarp off and on that field. You're making phone calls, and you're doing your things. Then you got a game that night. It's just part of that camaraderie that's created, and that is so much of sports. For those that you participate, it is an extension. And many at this level, I mean, have participated at one level. Some at a very high level, and some just, whether it's through high school or college, understand that aspect. And that is something that does continue on into the front office. Is you do have that sports relationship, that camaraderie as a team. So I think that's something that's unique, and in this industry, it's not the same day, 2 days in a row. That's part that's, I think, exciting. It's invigorating. I think it's we all want to be in this industry because of that camaraderie and that experience, and being able to know that, there's something new that's going to pop up this day when I come in there. Some of it may pop up that you're like, damn, I wish that didn't come out today. But I mean, you deal with it, and that's part of the excitement of your job, is that there isn't a monotony to it.
Yeah, very true.
Let me. First of all, I agree with everything that's being said, but let me break up kind of the love fest. I think. I totally agree. But I'm gonna segue into something I really like. Okay. I like that in my job, and practically speaking now, I feel like month to month, the projects they're changing. Like you start out in spring training, and that brings about its own level of excitement and challenges and whatnot. And you get there and you've got opening day, and you get home and opening day's upon you, and everybody's very excited. And before you know it, the June draft's upon you. And once you finish that up, the trade deadline's upon you, and then the season's winding down. It's time to start budgeting, and then arbitration season's on you, and free agency's on you, and bing, bang, boom. It's like there's like the challenges never end, but it's the industry doesn't lend itself to becoming stale or stagnant, because it's just if you're not ready to go, the next task is going to be on you before you know it. And I think that is it's kind of it's refreshing in some respects, because even if you're not good at one of those things, or you don't like one of those things, it's time to move on a month later. Yeah. But people are great too.
That's very true on the business side, in the side as well. There's the season, there's the off season, there's the beginning of the season, there's the end of the season, there's the 3 months prior to the start of the season, which are very hectic. It's constantly changing, and I think that's a very good point.
Is it still a 12-month-a-year job for everyone?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, when I was in
4 months.
There's a question up there, Tom.
Yeah, I was blessed and fortunate enough to play in the major leagues, and I can kind of relate to what you said about an individual that you follow for years, and then all of a sudden they make it to the major leagues. Because I still keep in contact with someone in Charlotte, North Carolina, that was exactly how you were. So I can totally relate.
Any other questions, Joe?
I think I'm coming in from a different perspective, but I'm a photographer. I work for a daily newspaper, and I've covered pro football, Major League Baseball, and minor league baseball. But the industry, the newspaper industry as it is now, we're getting to cover less and less, and it's my passion to cover Major League Baseball. So I'm looking for recommendations on how I can network to get in as a photographer with a Major League team.
I would suggest trying a different angle other than covering the team itself. Cover events for the club, cover their baseball camps, or something else that may not be, because the official photographer is usually firmly entrenched. But if you can do something else for the club and get great shots and that gets seen, then they may see you as an alternative. Because we have done that and had a fantastic guy that worked for us who actually worked for free for me, which is kind of the baseball way, but did some fantastic shots that he wanted to put on his website, and they were amazing, and they were seen by marketing, and our marketing guy saw that and was like, where did you get that? And so he's trying to get in, but it's a different way sometimes to get into a team.
Larry Falk from Baseball Ventures. As a team owner who hired people, I learned something that may not be obvious from our discussion today that maybe you can confirm for me. What I found was that while there's a lot of commonality that we're hearing today, team to team within the industry of baseball, major league, minor league, independents, every team is its own business. And working for one team may not be exactly the same as working for another team. So when you're looking for a job, you should do some research about who you want to work for, and not just work at the job. Right. Team, working for Bob may be great, maybe not. I don't know. But it may not be your fit not because of the job, because of the company, the team.
It's true.
It's very true.
It's just like any other business. I mean, whether it's Wall Street or something, baseball is the business, but each club is a different owner, different entity, different style, different way of managing. They're all different. But I will go back to knowing as many people as you can know in this industry, because the other thing that has shrunk the industry back in my old days and hiring people, you pick up the phone and call people you knew. Well, there's only 30 people that do what I do, but I'd have to make 30 phone calls. Well, now those 30 people are on an email link serve. We ask a question and say, I need to hire one person, and I'll get 30 emails within less than 20 minutes that say, just met a guy, interviewed a guy, know a guy that lives in Virginia, saw somebody, know somebody, and you'll get names that come just like that. You get an answer. So it's no more phone calls. You don't have to do that anymore. So you can meet somebody from the Padres somewhere, and they'll send me your resume if they know you're here and looking for a position.
Other questions? But let me go into also in regards to us working in the industry and all that. In regards to having people that influence you to kind of lead the way for you on sponsorship. In regards to that, how important has that been for some of you and throughout your careers in regards to get to where you're at now?
I think it's critical. I think having strong mentors, particularly at an early age, is absolutely critical towards your success. And again, that's a kind of easy. It's easy to say, but it doesn't mean just because you might land your first job, your first internship. That doesn't mean that your boss there is going to be the ideal mentor. I mean, sometimes somebody earlier referenced luck. You know, I mean there is something to that, but I think it's incumbent upon everybody on this panel and everybody else that could serve on this panel that work in other places, that when we're in positions to be hiring, we need to recognize that too. And I try to take that to heart, that I very much recognize that there have been some people that have helped me a lot in my career. And now when we have people that Tripp and I bring into our office, we do the very best we can. In fact, one of our interns last year now works for Tyrone with the Pirates. And we didn't have a job for him, but I knew Tyrone, I knew Kevin Graves, who works for the Pirates, very well. And it's very much along the lines of the way this conversation's been going. I like and respect those guys and know that they're going to serve as good mentors along the way. So we recommend people that way. So I think it's critical, and I think the more you can try to associate yourselves with good people, I think it's going to carry you a long way.
I would jump on that. I would not be in this room right now if it was not for a mentorship I had my senior year of high school, which was 10 years ago. I did a mentorship with Kevin Seifert, who at the time covered the Minnesota Vikings for the Star Tribune, and is now with ESPN.com. I met people through him that have helped me get jobs. He used to work at the Washington Times. He knew somebody, helped me get an internship there, and then it was my first job covering the Nationals after starting at the Minneapolis paper. But more importantly than that, you meet people that teach you how to work in this business. There's kind of this culture in baseball of you'll always hear players talk about learning how to be a pro, learning how to do the job the way other people have done it. And that's very true in every aspect of this game. You want people that have been through it, people that have learned, people that have succeeded, people that have failed, to tell you this is the best way you should do something. This is what you want to do. And I've been very lucky in journalism to have some great people that I'm still in touch with that I met in high school. So find those people, find good people that are well respected, that want to take an interest in developing the next group of people to come along, because those people, in addition to introducing you to people and all the networking nuts and bolts that you can do, they can teach you things that are so much more important than just who you know, and they can teach you how to do things the right way, and that can take you a long way, farther than you ever think.
Yeah, I'd echo that, and I think someone mentioned that maybe your first supervisor or boss isn't necessarily going to be that mentor, but the ones I've been fortunate enough to come across that share their failures as much as their successes, I think says a lot about them as people, and also helps you get better as you're entering your career, because certainly we're all going to screw up a lot, but hopefully if you can learn from that, and just the selflessness of hoping that the next group, the next wave of employees ends up surpassing what you do, I think also is a good tribute to the better supervisors and managers in this game.
I'll just add, when you're looking for these positions, you want to look for people like that. You want to look for people that are going to help you develop as to be successful, and aren't just looking at you as a way to churn work or something like that out. And I'll give you an example. One of my college teammates and close friends was one of the first wave of people who went from a small Division III college and without any sort of baseball experience that playing in the college, and he founded a way for there's probably 8 or 9 people from a small college in Philadelphia that are now working in major league offices, GMs, assistant GMs throughout baseball. And he took that role seriously, even for people that were the same age. Just always be there, always pick up the phone, always return a message to try to let people know that this was an example. Ultimately, you want to be one of those people that are helping people out. So when you're looking for those jobs, try to find those people, because they're all good.
And definitely in that aspect, it truly shows the idea that this business is all about people and relationships. And that's partially why the LinkedIn group and having it set up was the idea of kind of symbolizing what they mean, what they operate by, the idea of relationships matter, and bringing that to to a point where you understand that connection you have with somebody, and hopefully developing a relationship with that person down the road can help hopefully lead you down the road. Maybe there's a chance of some mentoring that can be involved. You know, I look back to my own involvement in baseball here. You know, my opportunity when I started out with Atlanta, the people I had a chance to work with, and once getting into opportunities to work with them, knowing that they were looking after me and wanting me to succeed and to have opportunities, just the importance of that. So. We're running a little short. We're going to start here very shortly. Go out and have another networking session, just people to continue to mingle. Is any other general questions people have?
I wanted to ask you, Tyrone, how you came about creating this LinkedIn network and what your ideas are for taking it into the future. I'm stunned to see that you now have over 7,000 people in this network, and how on earth do you manage that? And what was the inception of this idea? I think this has been really incredibly enlightening to see how this is all grown like topsy, as we say. But how did this idea come about, and how is it growing now?
You know, now it's a case where when it first started, the idea of coming up with it was, I happened to notice there were a good number of baseball people on LinkedIn, but they were just scattered all over the place. And I just looked at a case, well, knowing that I have credibility from working in this game, there were a couple other groups that were also still going on, but none of those individuals were actually truly involved in our game. So I felt that I could capitalize on that for me being in the game, hopefully that would attract people and bring people together. But a big part of that also, besides getting a chance to continue to network with other individuals in other areas and other cities, I wanted to make sure we had an aspect to provide for the people that are trying to break in. I didn't have very many roadblocks to get my opportunity to come into the game, so I realized it's a lot tougher from everything other people have. So if there's a case where I could make some impact on somebody's life, where they got a chance to come into the group, got a chance to meet the right people, to help them get to where they're trying to get to, you know, I feel like I've done something to give back to the game in that regard. In regards to the growth of the actual group, you know, it's been mainly a case of word of mouth. I mean, I was able to reach out to certain people just to give them an idea. Basically, some of my first messages to people that I truly didn't know was, I'm creating this group, trying to bring people together in our game. If you connect with me, I will send you an invite to actually join the group. And from that, it just kind of flooded from there. And with the way LinkedIn is, obviously when you connect with somebody else who's connected to you might see that person connecting, and then from that you see you joining the group, so other people started flooding that way. So eventually the goal is to try to have different regional meetings in different areas, just to bring people together. People can obviously travel from one place to another, or they can have something right here in their own backyard. And also eventually try to have some different seminars for people that are trying to break in, so you hopefully can educate people on how this game operates and where the game is going, just to give them that much more input and education on how this game operates, so you can make an informed decision on trying to break into this industry.
Hello, my name is Roberto Keese, and Tyrone, this event and the LinkedIn program is absolutely wonderful. But I want to know how the Pirates gave you permission to leave town when there was a game tonight.
I thought I had perfect scheduling because it was a common off day for the Orioles, the Nationals, and my own club. So I thought we had it perfectly planned. So I haven't checked the score updates.
No, you want me to check for you?
Just kidding aside, how does the Pirates organization view this program that you put together, your visit here to put this group together, and obviously many more to come in the future, but are they utilizing you, recruitment? Do they foresee you or this organization as a vital tool for their organization down the road?
Yeah, it's still spreading. You would think that being that I'm in Pittsburgh, that I would have like our entire front office would all be in it, but I haven't tried to basically spam everybody. I realize there's MLB and every club has social media policies that are in place. I don't truly consider this social media per se. I consider the aspects just business networking. And but the people that I work with in Pittsburgh have been very supportive in regards to this whole aspect. When we're actually, when I first came aboard, Neil Huntington, the general manager of my club, when I first interviewed for the job that I have, I explained to him what I had just started and what I was creating. And I made sure to tell him up front what I was trying to do. And he's been very supportive of that. And then when we had an event down in Florida at our spring training complex, he spoke and had some very good insight stories to talk about in regards to him breaking into the industry. And we're actually planning right now, we're going to have an event in Pittsburgh coming up in June. So I might be calling a few people here and there. But we've got a good staff of people in Pittsburgh that are very interested in how we can do things. We can help people. And then also, it's a way to continue to look for talent, so people know an avenue to come in. And I'm in the process now of trying to do some things that right now it's one big group. We're probably after today we should go over 8,000 members. So I'm trying to see about now to go ahead and break into subgroups just to make it easier. So if somebody has an interest in marketing, they can go right into a group, into a subgroup of people that are involved in marketing, just to make it that much easier to find the people you're trying to get a hold of and to be able to have discussions related strictly to those particular areas. So you're not bogged down with other discussions that might be taking place with baseball operations maybe, and you're not involved, you don't want to do something in that area. So it's just a matter of what we can do to do some things. We'd like to hopefully bring it maybe out of LinkedIn itself, just to have some other areas so we can do more things with it. Right now we're limited to the format of how LinkedIn is set up. So eventually we're going to have some other things I think down the road that people will like.
This may not be to your point, and maybe it's obvious, but as an industry, well, baseball operations are different. As a business, we don't compete with 29 other teams. We share information. We if something works well in one market, it may work well in another market, and we've gotten to a point where we do a pretty good job sharing that information. The baseball people are a little more proprietary with their information, understandably, but there's a lot of sharing back and forth.
And I need to attend the industry meetings so I can do a little seminar. But one of the things also, that we're trying to do is just to make it that much easier in regards to just kind of spreading the word or about the whole group. And I'm in the process now of trying to get some things squared away that we can continue to allow us to grow, but also just in a positive manner in regards to hopefully there's people that are having success stories from this whole thing, from the group. Just in case some people don't have an idea how to actually, how many people are not a member of the baseball industry network? No, okay. The one thing I do in regards to the actual group itself, I screen every applicant that goes about requesting to join the group. The way somebody, once they create a profile on LinkedIn, all they have to do is go to groups, and once they go to groups, there's a group directory that people can scroll down to, and they can enter baseball industry network right there, and at that point, they will have an opportunity to request to join. And what I do is I look at the profiles of anybody that's coming in and trying to get into the group. I look to see if there's related experience. It might not have to be baseball, but they have some other area. Maybe they worked in the NFL or done some things, but it's something that will truly be transferable and relate to what we're trying to do in regards to baseball and grow our game. And from that, I see if somebody has those type of experiences, and I go ahead and it's normally pretty cut and dry. I can let them right into the group. After that, if there's somebody that I'm not sure about in regards to what their purpose is and what they're trying to do, I'll shoot them a note just to ask them, what is your purpose for joining us, and can you give me any other relevant information about yourself that would allow me to judge your application to join. And then from that's typically how I go through the whole screening process. Just because, one, I worry about the people that are here that are in this group and other people that are members. Last thing I want is somebody to negatively do something, send messages to somebody and they don't belong. Truly, I want people that have a passion for being in this game and want to be involved in this game. And that's what we're trying to do, is bring those people together and bring those people in. First and foremost, let me also just thank everyone here, including Patricia Cleveland here from the University of Maryland and the Smith School of Business for hosting this event. This has been a pleasure for me to come back here. It's been since 1996 I was here. A lot has changed, of course, with the buildings here and what they've expanded on. But the key focus is educating, obviously, and continuing to create leaders throughout this game and throughout the business world. So, Brian Hork, also my old advisor, just want to thank you as well. It's been a pleasure staying in touch with you over the years as well. And Emily Dunham, Emily's here.
Emily outside.
Yeah. So, but definitely we have more time to continue to network and chat here. We'll be right outside here. So thank you very much.